السلام عليكم جميعا. كيف الحال؟ I will continue the presentation in Arabic. I'm glad to be here with you all to discuss about this very important subject, which is the food security. Yeah. Okay. So at the beginning, I want to go with you on a journey, and imagine something for, maybe can be very interesting to begin the subject with. So imagine if you found yourself in a remote island, and it's a very remote, it's very far away from civilization. What would be your basic needs? Everyone would answer this question, because it's a human nature that the main aspect for any human kind or even civilization is food, water, and shelter. So this shows us the importance of agriculture. When it comes to food security, agriculture is really an important factor. Why? Because it's actually a primary source for food for our world population. It ensures the access to nutrition and diverse diet, and resolve the hunger and malnutrition around the world. In addition to that, if you see at the agriculture where actually the human civilization started, making a shift from hunter-gathering communities to cultivating crops as well as domesticating animals. This allowed humans to actually settle down in one place, creating a permanent settlement and forming the basis for first human civilization, which is around 10 to 12,000 years ago. In addition to that, agriculture contributes tremendously to our economic stability. It supports the livelihood for billions worldwide, contributing to economies with trade, jobs, and income generation. If you look at the market size for agriculture, it's around $13 trillion worldwide. So why do we need to change the current food supply chain if it's one of the oldest sector that we have today? If you look at the food supply chain, you find there is many challenges. If we look at the global sector, for example, you have 50% increase in demand for food by 2030. You have higher temperature, which is actually affecting the crops and the yields worldwide. Increasing water scarcity is another challenge that actually we have to look at. Only agriculture by itself is accumulates to 70% of the global fresh water supplies. And only considering that the freshwater supplies is 2% of the global water that we have worldwide. So it's an alarming figure that requires actions to conserve the water for future generation. You have 800 million people go hungry every day. You have 1 in 3 people suffer from malnutrition, and 1/3 of our food is wasted. When you look at from the food, you will see that some of the food are actually wasted when it's actually in the farm, because it doesn't reach to the quality that is targeted by the end consumer or the marketplace. Another waste is actually happening within the transportation period, and finally, when it reaches the consumer, you will find so many waste happening from food itself. When it comes to UAE, we have additional challenges we need to worry about. We have 90% of our food is actually imported, and the arable land is actually 5% only from the overall area. I wanted to go a little bit more, within the subject of food miles, because I believe it's very important. It's not, widely spoken about. But food miles is actually it measure how far the food actually travels to arrive to the consumer. As an average, a difference from one crop to another, but it's around 1,500 to 2,500 miles before it arrives to the consumer. And only that, if you look at from a global perspective, the carbon footprint is around 3 gigatons contribution to the world, just for the sake of actually distributing food around the world. So when it comes to the challenges of food security, The UAE have adopted many strategies to help resolve that. So one of the strategies is enable the increase of local food production, diversify the international sources and agribusiness trade, as well as foster the creation and scale of innovative solutions. Actually, it's very interesting that the UAE National Food Security Strategy 2051 was actually launched in 2018, before the pandemic. And that shows that the government have a foresight and always planning for the future. In addition to that, the UAE and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum have launched back in 2021 the Food Tech Valley project to become a hub for food tech and agri-tech technologies, making local and clean food more accessible for the communities. So let's take one step backward just to understand basically what is the national security strategy and what does it aim to do. So if you look at from UAE perspective, that we have dedicated around 24 items for the food basket. So these are the target items that we are trying to have actions to support. So when it comes to these 24 items already distributed in 6 different categories. Within these 6 different categories, you will see the majority of the share is actually from imports. And this is something that we are trying to change, and at the same time to allow more partners to work with us in importing the food that we bring to the country. So the second thing is, okay, there is a challenge within food security. There is already challenges worldwide in UAE. What can we do? What are the type of technology that can help resolve many of these challenges? One of them is one of the major contender of these technologies is vertical farming. So just to give you a general view about vertical farming. Vertical farming is redefining the traditional agriculture by cultivating crops in vertically stacked layers. And in addition to that, often with controlled environment. So eliminating the factor of the outside temperatures. In addition to that, an innovation solution to maximize the space and the resources. So the benefits of these systems is actually you will have a longer period of yield and crops. You will have year-round production. You will have water conservation. Such systems can reduce the water consumption by 80 to 90%. And the reason behind that is they have a recirculation of water. And what they do, they balance the pH and then add nutrient and then pump it back within the system to grow. And so in extreme cases, they actually have some polishing treatment as well to make the water reusable. When it comes to space optimization, before the previous, your typical type of farming is actually on the ground. You are actually governed by the elements. Sometimes the temperature changes. Sometimes there is a disease that comes and affects your crops. Space optimization within vertical farming solves that by adding different stacks within an area. For example, it's actually some vertical farm goes around 8 meter, 12 meter, some goes up to 20 meter. And within these areas, every stack is around from 30, 50, actually goes to 70. Different system, different technology out there. And by doing so, you are actually maximizing the area, the growing area, by up to 20 times the actual farms. You have also new variety. For example, UAE, they have different crops that they can grow in ground. Within a certain period, around 4 months, 3 months, and that's it. However, you can produce more varieties, even for varieties that is actually produced in a colder climate. So it gives you a more flexibility. Why? Because it's actually a controlled environment. Reducing food mile is a very important factor. When we eat food that is actually transported on an average 2,000 miles, that you can see that it will have issues with freshness. They will going to use a certain type of chemical to preserve it for a longer period. And in addition to that, coming back to the reducing food miles, any disruption that happens within the logistic channels I can give you an example of Suez Canal, for example. Several years back, there was a blockage which actually disrupted many of the ships passing by the canal, and many of the food that was within the ships is actually went bust and thrown away. So it gives you many flexibility and things that you can work upon. So some of the technologies that are available there is there's different names and different things, but just to summarize, you have hydroponic, you have aeroponic, which potential the aeroponic is actually also growing root vegetables. So hydroponic is well known for leafy greens, but root vegetable like seed tomato is something that we see happening around us. We have aquaponic, which is hydroponic combined with aquaculture. You have zip grow, which is mainly is a type of growing media that is actually stacked vertically. So when you stack it vertically, you can take advantage of the sunlight as well, and you can supplement light when it's needed. NFT is another form of hydroponic that is widely used within the sector. Many of these farms and many of these technologies is actually within different envelope. You have the greenhouse, but every type of technology will have different level of advancement, different level of technologies. Greenhouse by itself, you have the one that is very typical, and you have things that is very active and using sensor IoT, they can actually manipulate and open. They use stack effect. They can help the temperature to reduce within the greenhouses. Vertical farming is also another way, which is actually fully enclosing the system to have more manipulation and more manipulation, even the texture of the food. Net houses is one of the technologies that is actually evolving. We have in the UAE Elite Agro, which is a company in Abu Dhabi. They are started producing with net houses with mist system. Now they are producing berries, and we are happy to hear that they started also approaching international deliveries as well. So it's a very promising technology that we have so far. However, every technology will have a different level of maturity and commercial viability. It depends on the business model at the end of the day. Some they actually more commercially viable because of the target segment that they select, the type of crops. So it's a very dynamic factor. We can't fully identify it within a graph. However, this gives you a summary on what is available right now that can be potentially commercially viable, and what's next that can also arrive to evolve the technology further in the near future and the far future. Moving on, CEA has the potential to cover a wide range of crops by reducing the cost of production in the following aspect. We need to reduce the energy consumption. It's a huge factor within the vertical farming sector. You have cost of initial setup that you don't have in your typical farming. You'll need to buy a lot of equipment, a lot of HVAC, lighting system, AI, IoT to set up your farm. So it's a high initial cost business. You have also standardization and scaling, which is still not happened yet. It needs time to develop this type of system and standardized within the sector. However, if we want to simplify maybe the future of vertical farming or control environment agriculture, we'll see that potentially what started is actually leafy green, and also microgreen is one of successful factors. Also, it's evolving to actually cover a more higher, what they call it, higher value crops. So leafy green being low value crops, fruit and vegetable being high value crops. We can see tomatoes, we can see strawberries, we can see also cucumber that is actually grown within this type of system. But the dream here is that to reach to stable crops, because stable crops is actually what defines food security for many nations, many countries around the world. However, for you to reach a stable crops, already stable crops is different dynamics. It's it's a long-lasting item. You can store it for a long period. So the cost of production currently is very low, which is good, which is something that we want to see. But in the future, what we are hoping is that the technologies and the advancement within controlled environment agriculture can lower the production cost and reach to a stage that even produce stable crops. So if we ask ourselves how to adopt sustainable and climate smart agriculture methods within the UAE. Looking at the limitation, we have a hot, arid desert climate. We lack the arable land. We have high dependency on desalination. So we need to be very careful on the technologies that we select for our system. So when it comes, a possible solution is that for the arid climate, you can control it. For the lack of arable land, you can have grow media, which eliminate the soil issue. Because our soil right now, if you irrigate it, you have to irrigate it more frequently because it actually doesn't hold the water as much. So having grow media, which works with cocoa beets, work with also directly on the water with nutrients, can support conserving our natural resources. The final thing is dependency on desalination. Again, we can recirculate it, so it solves many of our problems. However, it's not always positive in controlled environment agriculture. We have to be very frank with ourselves when adopting or become an early adopter for these type of technologies. Challenges presented within the field it need to be evolved and need to be resolved. So for example, I'll jump to the next slide so it gives you more clear. I hope that you can see what's written above. However, so energy consumption, what we can resolve with by providing incentives and providing alternative for energy like solar adoption and so on. We have sunlight, which is all around the year, so it's actually a good potential to have solar adoption. Crop variety for the UAE as well is essential. Currently, many businesses that we meet, in the past year and a half, we met around 200 companies worldwide, just to understand, the sector and what's the challenges that they have. Many of them, they grow low-value crops. And when you go with low-value crops, you are competing with the open market, and it becomes a very challenging factor. However, for a startup company, I'm not saying vertical farm shouldn't cover also low-value crops, but for any startup, initial stage, they require something with a better margin to succeed. So high-value crops is something that we need to focus on, and value-added products. So just to explain the value-added product is when you have a raw food that you take it one step and you can add value, and then you will be put in a better position with the margin and so on. When it comes to high investment, initial investment, it's very important to highlight that many of the companies that actually we meet, sometimes they overdo it, bringing robotics, cultivation. So having the right composition is really important. And adopting the right type of technologies. It's not showcasing something, it's actually producing food within aspect that is actually acceptable for the end user. One thing that is actually very important, I believe, and we need to highlight it for anyone who is growing in the UAE, is that in the UAE we are an open market, and the competition with an open market is actually we need to be very careful with. However, it's a good thing to have an open market. It's allow more competition. It's actually give us more selection for food to eat. But when we step with locally food produced, we have to be very careful in what we are actually producing. So instead of producing something generic or generic seeds, we have to develop our unique UAE variety. One example that I can highlight is basically when you go to spinach, for example, you'll find they are selling grapes that they are producing, which is a cotton candy taste. This is something unique. This is something special. There is a unique selling proposition that can allow more margin for the first period. The second thing is target consumer. If you take your vertical farm produce and then, which you maybe, let's give an example, you are producing a kg for 2 dirham, 3 dirhams, and you go to the vegetable markets. It's, I can't imagine what is the best word to explain it, but it can be a very competing market for you. So the best scenario for that is to go direct to the consumer, eliminate the middlemen as much as you can. Also, HoReCa sector is where the sector where you have the hotel, restaurant, and catering sector. Usually they are picky in terms of the type of crops that they want. Sometimes they want a certain type of variety that is not available in the market. Sometimes they do it by order. So focusing on this market initially is very ideal until the project go beyond the curve and start producing within the, to reach basically what they call it economy of scale. So the most important step, in my opinion, is collaboration. Very important things. In Food Tech Valley, what we are doing right now, in the past year and a half, we have established 6 different collaboration. Some of it is to have a different accelerator program, some of it to provide debt funding, also equity funding, and providing the right composition and the right support system, similar to the gentleman that was before me. He explained it in a very well manner, but it's very important to enable collaboration with different entities. One of the main things that I believe it can evolve the industry is government, university, and businesses. When businesses collaborate with the universities, what happens is that you channel the talent pool. You educate also the student to become a better quality in terms of knowing the market, knowing the challenges in the market, and so on. In addition to that, when businesses require R&D, what we see, we are seeing that there is a shift, there is a changes happening, but having researches that is actually doesn't have challenges on ground can be lost of an effort. However, combining the businesses and universities, the businesses can actually communicate the challenges that they have to the universities, so they can also participate in the R&D activities. Many of the leading universities worldwide, they have a strong synergy with businesses, and they have their own business model how to deal with these type of businesses. In addition to that, the government has to be very close to the industry, very close to the stakeholder to listen. So, and we are really we are glad that we are in a country that this is actually happening, where actually government is listening to the industry, and every year we see a new regulation and a new support for innovation and technologies. Another thing, actually, we need to speak to ourselves as well. Consumer habit. Us, the people in the room. We have to start, encourage the local producer. We have to start buying more locally produced. We need to give them a chance. In addition to that, support homegrown businesses is very essential. This is how we can grow these businesses to become global. And they are in a trial phase within the country, and we need to support them as much as we can. So the last part is basically how the UAE is nurturing the growth and food and agri-tech solution. So as highlighted earlier, I'm really glad that I'm actually part of this project, which is Food Tech Valley. It was launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum back in May 2021. And it's a government-led initiative to develop an economic zone specialized in the food sector, and also tackling all the items that is discussed in the presentation. So we are trying to create a hub within the UAE for food tech and agri-tech, covering CA, controlled environment agriculture. We're also adding alternative protein, cellular agriculture, fish farming, and algae culture because of the potential growth within these businesses. However, adding to that, what we are doing is that we understood that for us to establish a unique selling proposition, we need to offer the complete value chain within the food sector. So we're offering pre-production, production, processing, packaging, distribution, up to waste management. The reason we are doing that is that when you group businesses that's working together, you allow more collaboration within the field and more growth and innovation. I would like to end with a quote. His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, Allah yarhamah, he said, give me agriculture, I guarantee you civilization. So from the beginning of this nation, our founding father, he understood the value of agriculture and he looked into it. And we continue to do so. And hopefully we can continue to do so until we achieve the vision that we have to be the number one in the food security index by 2050. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. My name is Dr. Sharifuddin Ahmed Rana. I'm originate from Bangladesh. So agriculture actually my heart because agro-based economy is one of the beautiful things of South Asia, especially India and Bangladesh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Okay. I am Dr. Sharifuddin Ahmed Rana and I'm originate from Bangladesh. And thank you for your excellent presentation. Agriculture is our heart because most of the South Asian family actually they involve with agricultures. I'm working as a professor for MIT React as well as I'm president of World Talent Economy Forum. We are heavily involved with agricultural things. I have one of the thought process on that particular issues because what you are giving is excellent. You are talking about all of the futuristic technology and the Western world technology you are discussing. But according to my experience, because I'm heavily involved with agricultural research, let's say this emerging economy like India or Bangladesh, they have their own traditional ecosystem for producing food and they are very successful because, example, India or Bangladesh, they are feeding billions of people. So how this UAE and your research center collaborate with this kind of farming process? You can do both. You can do this research collaborations like with BIRI or IRI, bringing some high quality research and innovations from the emerging economy as well as you launch all of the Western thoughts. And maybe this way we can produce more effective and innovative solution for these global communities. If you agree with me, how we can collaborate with your organizations?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. Mainly, just to highlight that the direction here that we don't want to substitute imports of food by 100%. One of the goals is actually enable the local food produce in the UAE, but in the same time diversify the sources of the food. We are always open to collaboration. Already there is a huge effort, like for example with the Zahra, with different farms around the world, with different collaboration. So this is something as part of the National Food Security Strategy. Within the Food Tech Valley, our role here is actually focusing on the locally food produced, because we mainly we want to enable that, and it's required some sort of a support system. However, there is equal effort, or maybe a bigger effort is actually being done by different entities in the government to diversify the sources of the food as well. Thank you. Done? Thank you very much. Thank you. You have a question?